I mean, kids, man, they're like little robots, man. You just program with this stuff, and they want to watch it forever. It's like,
Because we did this one
okay,
first, and we were like, "Yo, that was hype. We gotta go to another show." That shit was crazy.
welcome, everyone to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives. I'm your host, Theo, and on the line, I have that man, that myth, the legend, Mr. Benja.
What's up, man? What's up? The legend is going through some things this week, but we'll talk.
Okay, man. Well, definitely. Hey, look, there's a lot to cover today. We have a lot of good news with new TV shows. Loki's coming up, the new Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix. Some other things are happening in Marvel Phase 4. Then our feature story this week will be around crypto's future. So there's some interesting news there with Elon and Dogecoin that we'll kind of cover. And finally, like we normally do, our rewatch, which is the Bad Batch episodes that just happened, a new Star Wars, I guess, Clone Wars sequel. This is what we'll talk about this week. So, with that being said, man, how was your week?
Oh man, week was good. It was a full week. So a lot was happening, just making things happen. You see, I just got back in. I picked up some new shirts. So got one of them. It's my X shirt here,
I love it.
and that's from the 8-bit cubist. And
Shout out.
yep. So yeah, things are moving along swimmingly this week, and Mother's Day's coming up, so it ended a good week.
Yeah, definitely. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Yeah, man, busy week for me. I mean, I didn't really travel this week, but just a lot of new opportunities. Just really heads down with the business. So that's been pretty focused. I'm trying to think of some interesting stories. We did a midweek. Our live weekly live show. We did like a 10-minute live show, just kind of recapping Bad Batch, and I was just talking about my kids, watching these shows with me and seeing if they understand some of this stuff. So I mean, kids, man, they're like little robots, man. You just program with this stuff and they want to watch it forever. It's like, because we started watching this show, like I was telling you, the Young Rock, about the Rock and his life growing up, and they had like old wrestlers like uh, the Ultimate Warrior and the Iron Sheik and Junkyard Dog show up in the TV show. And so my son, that's all he's been watching on YouTube for the last 2 weeks, is just old wrestling videos. So it's just like, it's crazy, man. So he's all into that stuff now. So I'm like, and I'm getting hyped too because I'm like watching it again and remembering. So I mean, so let's take it back real quick. This is in our banter.
you remember?
But for those that don't know, Ben and I used to be hardcore wrestling guys. You would never guess this, but we got into it under the WCW days when at the NWO. If those who are wrestling fans, and one time we stayed up all night in Tallahassee just to go to a wrestling match, to a Monday Night Raw. So FYI.
So yeah, yeah, that was pretty fun, man. We're just sitting down, and at the end of the wrestling, or the for those of you who are watching wrestling, at the end of every show, they'd have, you know, this this Thursday in Long Beach, California, coming to the Long Beach, convention center, blah blah blah. It's gonna be great. And you're like, all right, cool. So they were doing that, and they said, this Thursday at the Leon County Civic Center, Tallahassee, Florida, we're gonna have Thursday Night Thunder. And we were both just kind of like, yo, that's where we live. And they were like,
Man, I think
I think they said tickets go on sale tomorrow. And we were like, what?
so we were trying to play it cool because we both were like, we were intrigued. Just said, okay, maybe we'll go get some tickets. And then I think we looked at each other and we said, well, maybe we should just drive by just to see what's going on. I mean, I don't think anybody's out there, man. We rolled over there, man. These fools are out there, got TVs. They were cooking hot dogs
Yeah,
out there,
the
man. We
guy
like, oh
the
shit.
guy pulled yeah, dude pulled up with his truck and opened up the back and was pulling out like lawn chairs and stuff to camp out. I was like, oh shit, I am not prepared for this.
So we ran back and got our stuff, man, and we stayed all night,
So
man,
wait,
trying to get these tickets.
so I think wait, one of us stayed for a while while the other one like ran to get food, and we were like, all right, save the place in line. Yeah, it was wild.
Well, I can't remember. Was this before we drove? Didn't we drive to was it New Orleans to see
Biloxi.
Hulk Hogan?
Oh, the 8
Yeah,
yeah.
Biloxi. Yeah.
That was the,
Was that before or after?
that was after, because we did this one
Okay.
first, and we were like, "Yo, that was hype. We gotta we gotta go to another show." That shit was crazy. Eh
So did you create the did we ever write that Booker T is my daddy? Did we do that?
Yeah. But
Did we get on the
well,
show?
because of where we were sitting, they said we couldn't use the sign, because because they had
Oh.
we were in front of one of the camera deals, and they're like, "You can't use the sign." So I just gave it to somebody.
Oh man, that would have been hype, man. That was so hype. Yeah, we were close. I remember, man. I mean, I could smell the sweat.
With, what's his name? Mr. Perfect. He used to Kurt Hennig. He used to, spit his gum out and, like, smack it into the air. And when you're watching that on TV, you're just like, "Alright, dude smacks his gum in the air, whatever." But when you're in the audience and that gum goes flying, everybody's like, "Ah, get out the way, get out the way." Nasty ass gum flying through the air, people. It was just
Oh man, I wish we had iPhones back then, like because we should have documented that. Man, we would have had so many fun hype pictures of that time.
that was comic.
Golly, man. Oh man. So anyway, we digress, man. But that was fun times watching wrestling with my son and bringing back old memories. So maybe we'll do a wrestling rewatch or
Alright, so
something one
real
day.
quick, if you wanna know how awesome it can get, I don't know if you ever saw the Scott Steiner math promo. Look that up on YouTube. Everybody who's, listening right now, Scott Steiner math promo. You'll be dying. And, it's ironically, I ended up on that after watching Tenet, um, because I was all about my math and figuring stuff out, and somehow YouTube was like, "This fool likes wrestling and math and Tenet. Let's show him the Scott Steiner math promo."
Okay, I'll go check it out. I mean, but all of them are classics, man. But I mean, we watched The Rock when John Cena and The Rock had a big battle, and basically The Rock was talking to a kid version of John Cena. That was hilarious. I mean, it's just the wrestling, man. I mean, if you don't know it, man, the wrestling is hilarious, man. They're all funny, and it is it's just too much, man. So I need to catch up on what the latest angles are, but I think I fell out after Stone Cold Steve Austin when he had his hype period. But he was hype too, man. I mean, he would put people in that stunner so quick, man. It'd be like walk up on you, bam, ugh. You're like, what happened?
So yeah, if you for anybody who's still saying, why would you watch that? It's fake. It's like, dude, it's hilarious. That's all I know.
Dude,
Good,
yeah. So anyway, we
good times,
digress.
man. Good times.
Yeah, I know. So we digress. But anyway, let's get into it. So news, man, a lot of news this week, a lot of news. So we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in crypto later, some big news there. But first thing we want to kind of touch on is Marvel Phase 4. They had a big, splashy, emotional YouTube video that went around and trying to get you hype about going back to the movies to watch specifically Marvel movies. But what do you think about what's coming for Phase 4? And did that video catch you at the right in the feels?
The video caught me in the field. I was really digging the Eternals. That's been the most curious one for me. So I was really digging that. I didn't know that they were going to have, the Marvels with an S on the end. I didn't know they were
Hmm,
going to
hmm.
play it the way they are, which is Captain Marvel, um, Photon, aka the other Captain Marvel, and Miss Marvel, all in the same movie. So I didn't get that that's what they were doing, but now that I hear that, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Not sure how I feel about making like a three-way kind of buddy, Charlie's Angel movie or something. I don't know what they're going for, but I
Hmm.
don't know. You thought about that?
Well, then yeah. I'll talk about the Marvels in a second. But what'd you think about Wakanda Forever, the Black Panther, part two? It looks like they're going all in on just, we still don't know what the story is, and obviously the emotional passing of Chadwick Boseman. So, just thinking through what is that. What do you think they're trying to go with that angle? Wakanda Forever is I'm just curious what Ryan Coogler and the rest of the team have up their sleeve to kind of resonate with such an emotional story.
That's a On one hand, it's a very positive, strong title where it's like, hey man, Wakanda forever. We lost Chaz. It's going to be a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. A lot of it is in tribute to his legacy. So Feige's made that clear, actually. So Wakanda Forever, that's, on one hand, that's like a very strong, like, kind of, hey, this doesn't end. It's not just about one guy. There's a whole movement happening here, and you're like, oh, okay, great. On the other hand, that's a really safe title. It's like,
Mhm.
it's I've never seen a main title that written that small, because it's like Black Panther in size 6 point font, and then Wakanda Forever in, like, 128 point, Wakanda font. Uh,
I love it. Yeah, I think we're all hype. I mean, it's going to be a top movie, whatever story they come up with. But I agree, they're going to thread that middle ground between tribute, but also preparing for the future. So I'm excited about that. Now, going back to your Marvels question, yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I mean, have did you get a chance to read any of the Miss Marvel comics at all?
no, I didn't get a chance to read the comics too much, but I know that she's, she. I don't know if you know about her powers, but the way her hands enlarge, that's one of the weirdest powers. But people like her, so uh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a Pakistani teenager. I think she's from New Jersey. So just, regular girl gets hit with some powers for I guess I don't know if Marvel's gonna introduce Inhumans again, but she's actually was made from the is it called Terrigen Mist? I think that's
Terrigenesis.
like Genesis. Yeah, she was actually created that way. But anyway, so I don't know if they're gonna introduce all that, but she does have these weird powers that, like you said, can make her hands big, feet big. I think it's almost like Plastic Man a little bit, kind of jokey.
Yeah.
But she's she I think she resonated because obviously she's Muslim. She's Pakistani. She's a teenage girl. So there's a lot of check marks there that people identify with. But also she was. I mean, I read the comic book. She was a cool character. I mean, she's just brings you back to, Spider-Man,
Mm.
his high school years. And so I think that's what resonated with a lot of folks. And so the couple of issues I read, I got why she was so popular. So I'm glad she's finally going to be a live action show. And I think she's also getting a Disney Plus show too. So she's going to be really big thing. And I guess what's that, 2022, I guess.
Yeah. I heard they may go with a type of Green Lantern type of um, power for her hands and feet, and because I was struggling to figure out how they would play that out in live action. Like, watch my hand get big. It's like, yeah, really? I don't know.
Ah, good point. Yeah, because you're right. It look a little jokey. You're right. It might be kind of like Green Lantern. If you guys have seen the movies and stuff, everything is in green, but it's like computer generated. It looks like realistic, but it's green. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Maybe her hands are just toned to green or whatever color they want to make it look a little bit more real. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Overall, I mean, are you excited about Marvel Phase 4? I mean, obviously, the first one coming out is going to be Black Widow. So we're going to, I guess, introduce her sister, who I guess will take on the mantle of the uh, Black Widow. But what are your thoughts about what they're coming with in the next year or so overall?
Next year or so, as I said, I'm still geeked for Shang-Chi. Just because kung fu, martial arts, ass kicking. You don't have to sell me hard on that. So that's my thing. Yeah, I've been waiting a long time for Black Widow, so
We all
I
have.
just kind of, I actually really like the Taskmaster character, so I want to see what they do with that character.
Hmm. Gotcha. No, I get it. And so obviously the big one, Doctor Strange, what's it, multiverse madness or whatever they pronounce it.
Hmm.
So that's gonna get into the whole, multi-universe and just really kind of explode that out. So yeah, I mean, you know, kind of cautiously optimistic. I mean, because now they have so many TV shows and so many different things going on. It's just kind of is Marvel, is it too much, right? And that's the thing. And so now the movies are they the event they once were. Now we're watching, a Marvel show like every Friday, right? So
Well,
or in Loki's case every Wednesday.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. They put that special announcement out there, Wednesday's New Friday or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
the uh, the thing with this though, they put out that I don't know what you want to call that, movie trailer teaser. You know. montage compendium or whatever for Marvel Phase 4, that's it's a very big thing that Feige keeps stating that, listen, the films are meant to be the big boys in the yard. They're going to be the tentpole items that everybody's going to hang their head on and hang their hat on. And these little shows are meant to just supplement that, to meant to make that much more appealing. So I hope that strategy works. I don't know. I mean, I suppose it will.
Yeah, it's so interesting, man. We talked a little bit about the IP world, and we'll talk a little bit about the Star Wars, what's happening there. It looks like, Star Wars in essence is maybe giving up on movies for the foreseeable future, and it's going all in on TV, and because that's what's working for it with Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and now Clone Wars. So it's kind of like, whereas Marvel is like, okay, we got the movie thing working. Let's see if we can get the TV thing working, but it's going to be such a small little piece of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of evolves. And then, also what I'm thinking is like, where is this going? Because we knew Marvel phase 1, 2, and 3 were building up to something, right?
Hmm.
Whereas now, I think we're all scratching our head trying to figure out, okay, where are they going to build up to? Is it going to be Secret Wars? Is it going to be, I mean, I don't know. They got the Eternals now. I mean, so it's kind
Yes,
of like,
that brings up another point. A while back they mentioned Secret Invasion, which is different from Secret Wars, which was also kind of hinted at in a way. But they
mhm.
actually had a title generated for Secret Invasion, and that's the whole thing with Nick Fury, the Skrulls, um, and that was the whole basis for Captain Marvel. So, are what's we still don't have this idea of a big baddie in the background that we're thinking about. So, to your point, man, yeah, it's got me curious. Good point.
Yeah, it's a lot of different things, and then also you got the X-Men that can pop up here, Fantastic Four now. So Feige's got a lot of stuff. He's trying to juggle here, trying to figure out, okay, what is the unifying force that's going to make this? Because think about it, that the scene they showed in that little trailer piece, right? Like everybody's so hype was at the end when they had when they had Captain America by himself, right? And then he was, ready to go, do his last stand thing. And then you had the Falcon say on your left, and everybody went in the theaters, right? Because I know you remember
Hmm.
that moment, right? Being in theaters and everybody was just so hype. Oh my god! And then when he finally got the Thor's hammer,
Yeah.
Avengers assembled, and he never said that ever. And that took about 20 movies over 10 years to get to that point. So it's like, what is going to be similar to that, in phase three, in 2026, right? So, that's the thing that I'm just kind of interested to see. But, I trust, what in Feige we trust. So we'll see.
It should be good. It should be good. We all speculate, but they haven't done us wrong.
No. So real quick, I know there's a lot of news to cover. So we'll just a few more things real quick. We'll talk about Jupiter's Legacy first. So did you see any of that yet? Or have you on Netflix that just popped out?
Yeah, my man Raph worked on it, and some people I know from the game industry
Nice.
they also worked on it. So I was there ready to watch the first episode at least, and it's a it's not an unfamiliar take on heroes, but it's very family drama. You know what I mean? So it's like they took a family drama and dropped superheroes in the middle of them. So you used to go home every night, and at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, somebody was watching Law and Order, somebody else is watching, Breaking Bad or whatever. This is like a family drama, and they're all heroes.
So do we want to take a step back and talk a little bit about what Jupiter Legacy is? So for those that don't know, Mark Millar was a big time writer for DC and Marvel. I mean, I was reading some of the stuff before this pod. He actually created some of these storylines that we're seeing in the Marvel universe, right?
Mhm.
Like Logan that came out on Fox not too long ago, the last Wolverine, and then I think a lot of stuff like Samuel Jackson wouldn't be Nick Fury was from Mark Millar, right? He was the first to kind of introduce like a black Nick Fury. For those that don't know, in the comics, Nick Fury is white, FYI. So, and that was Mark Millar kind of introduced that in this thing he called the Ultimates, right? There was like an Ultimate line that he created, was a kind of offshoot of the Marvel universe. But and also a lot of the designs too came from that too, if I remember correctly. The Ultimates really influenced the Avengers. The more I think about it. So anyway, Mark Millar was a big time writer for Marvel, DC for years. He created his own kind of universe, the Millarverse, if you will, and he created this show, the comic book called Kick Ass, which I think they had two movies based on his comic book. I mean, literally, the comic book was so hot. From what I read, they actually released the movie in 2 years after the first comic book came out. So that, of course, Wanted, that was that Angela Jolie and a movie that came out a couple years back about these, this evil cabal of, super bad assassins. So basically, this dude, always hits home runs, and so he came up with this other concept, like you said, kind of like a family drama, centered around like a superhero, story, like the Justice League. But what's the next generation going to do with what was given to them from their family, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what Jupiter's Legacy is about. And so I read one episode. I didn't get into it. It seemed a little too much for me at the time.
Mhm.
But now that it's on Netflix, I see that, and I also have a family of my own. It does appeal to me more. I do like that family dynamic. If you don't remember, I talked about like the new Superman and Lois TV show.
Yeah.
Very similar vibe, right? Just this next generation of superhero kids, and
Yeah.
what do you do as a superhero when you got kids?
Well, whenever you start a TV show with the family and some friends getting together at dinner, and there's a big blowout argument, and somebody puts their hands to the side of their head and just can't take it anymore and storms out. Anytime you have a big family drama like that at the dinner table, in at the first episode, you know it's a family drama, and now you'll see that happen with superheroes. So it was entertaining to watch. Like, come back here. I don't need your powers. Like, what? Family drama at the dinner table with heroes.
Oh man, what do you, oh, man, you ever see Varsity Blues?
I want to say that I have, but I didn't care about it.
With Dawson's in it, and it's basically about being a football kid in the Texas
Okay.
in high school. So there's a scene in there where a guy says, "I don't want your life." I mean, basically that's what the superheroes are saying. Dad, I don't want your life with a big old country trawl, drawl. So it's kind of interesting, yeah, but that's pretty much the premise of, Jupiter's Legacy. So high level, I liked it. I mean, I've already seen about 3 episodes. Man, I'll be honest with you, man. They put a lot of money into this show. It tells. I mean, I think Netflix bought Millar World, right? The whole,
Yeah.
Mark Millar's the whole, thing. And so this is their big push into the superhero genre, right? And so it looks like they put a lot of money behind this show, because when they have those big fight scenes, yeah, there's a lot of sitting at tables, washing dishes. I mean,
Yeah.
just a lot of sitting at the table talking. But when they go all in on their on the superhero stuff, man, they didn't spare any expense, man. Like I can't remember if that was the first episode or second episode when they had a big fight. Dude, I was like, this is quality stuff. I don't know. Am I wrong in this assessment? But it seems like they did some put some money behind this.
Yeah, man. It's my old hero movie thesis where every streaming platform needs their hero backbone, otherwise they might not be around.
Is this new, or is this just something we've talked about
Now
before?
we talked about this. That's the reason I set up the group we're in.
Oh, okay. So every stream, so that was it. The hero, what are you gonna call it? The hero spine or the hero backbone for every streaming service? They have to have that.
Yeah, man. You gotta have your hero series, or you're finished.
Got you. Well, Netflix went all in on this, so I mean, personally, I thought it was pretty good. There was maybe one scene later on that I thought was a little hokey, looked almost like Dragon Ball Z ish, but we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
there was one though that was I mean, it looks pretty good, man. They didn't spare any expense, so I liked it.
Yeah, there's a certain vibe to it where I'm not completely sure where the family show or the family drama and the superhero saga intertwine. It's like a new mix that I'm not quite sure I like. Like the first time I had mango chutney salsa, I'm like, I don't know if I like mango and salsa together. And it took me a second.
Yeah, yeah, me and, like, jalapeno, margaritas, I hate that. I don't like spicy with with liquor, it just
Uh,
doesn't mix for me, so you're
alright.
right, it's like but I'll be honest with you, I'm digging it, like I said, I think, the whole family drama with I'm there for it, so, we'll see where it goes, there's already some cool characters I already kinda like, and I see where they're going with them, so maybe we'll catch up on it again, so yeah, we'll definitely talk about that show and see and you know what? I forgot, man, how wonderful it is to be able to just binge a show again. I mean, it's like all these streaming shows, they starting to train us on weekly views.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I went to Jupiter's Legacy. I was like, oh, it's all here. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So it's kind of like, refreshing. And I think, we talked a little bit about this by Invincible. I think what happened with Invincible, nobody was watching it to maybe the last week. They just binged it. And then that's when you saw there's a big uptick because it seems like that's what happened. Like you're right, everybody just went crazy over it, like literally in like 2 days. So it's kind of interesting. So I think Jupiter's Legacy may have a similar kind of spike, but right now there's nothing else on, so they might have a good sustained spike because if it's if you get some action, so we'll keep a track of that and see where it goes. But anything else you want to say about that? And I just want to touch on Tenet real quick.
Nah, all I gotta say about that is give me the merch.
A lot of merch, man. Mark Millar, he's there for it too, man. He'll sell it to you. If it ain't nailed down, he's like, what's the other one? Spawn creator Todd
Oh,
McFarlane.
yeah.
Man, those some hucksters, dude. They really sell you something. They will sell you something. So anyway, Tenet. Real quick, we talked about it a little bit. You finally saw it. Did you go down a rabbit hole?
Yeah, man, that's part of the reason I got a little bit of a headache today, and I was coming in like, you know, I don't know where the headache came from, but I'm gonna blame it on going down the Tenet rabbit hole. You know, I I don't know. I watched it first, and I at first I wasn't impressed, right? And HBO Max actually crashed on me, and when it crashed on me, I was like, well, I'm not coming back to that. And I went off and watched, One Piece, right? I just wanted to watch something dumb and simple, so I was just like, let me turn on some basic anime. One Piece is good, but it's very simple. So I just left that on for a little while, and then later on that night, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and finish this. Let me go ahead and finish Tenet. Oops. I finished watching it, and there were a few whoa, wait a minute moments. Man, I started going. I didn't know. I yeah, man. I went down the rabbit hole. I started actually took out the notepad and pen, and
No,
I
no,
was
you
like,
did. I told
I was
you.
like,
I told you. You on that whiteboard, man. You on that whiteboard, man. You got to. It's just one of those those movies. You have to because it's deep.
I was like, wait a minute. They didn't go back in time. They just reversed their time. Wait, hold on. And it was just yeah. So I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. I was listening to different theories on why something happened versus why it didn't happen, and shows like that. People ask, is it good or not? I can't even answer that. It's like I call I call shows like Tenet science fair projects. You know, anytime a video game, a movie, or a comic book like this comes out where it's just it screws with your mind. I call that a science fair project because somebody's sitting down like, hmm, I wonder what would happen if I did this. Well, maybe I could put this and this together. And then they write up their little hypothesis. Huh, that should be interesting. That story be damned. They're just like, this would be really interesting. So I suppose people here have seen Tenet. I'm not going to spoil. You can't really spoil it, but you know,
Yeah, it's one of those like out there movies. So, did you know anything going into watching it, or did you kind of knew the premise when you went to go?
um, I just knew from the trailers that stuff goes backwards, and it's Chris Nolan. All right, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, literally when I watched it, I was like, so yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, slight spoiler alert. It wasn't until like the mid scene when I started to kind of get a sense of where this is going with it, right? So, like the mid when I say mid scene, I mean middle of the movie when I was like, oh, so everything we saw at the beginning, we're probably gonna see again, in some kind of fashion or whatever. But that's not exactly how it happened, but that's pretty much what happened, right? It's like everything that didn't make sense in the beginning of the movie you kind of start understanding, okay, that's why it didn't make sense because this is what this guy did before. And so it was like right when they did that turnstile movement, right? When I said, okay, so why is he fighting this strange guy? Oh, that's probably himself. And so that's when it kind of dawned on me. And then I thought about Tenet, Tenet, is the
Yeah.
same backward. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what he's doing. But I'll be honest with you, I swear to God, I still don't understand that last scene when they were having that battle and people were going forward and backwards and buildings were blowing up. I mean, if you understand that, you gotta get a PhD because I mean to understand what exactly was happening because there was a team that was going forward in time, one was going backwards, and they were finished the battle while they were coming in, and they were fighting this other group of people too at the same
And
time.
this, yeah,
Dude,
the people were like locked in the containers so they wouldn't interact with people from the other time.
yes.
It was like it was so much to try to do. As I told you, I was watching YouTube videos that had 3D models trying to explain what was going on.
Well, send them my way. Like I said, I got the general concept after, I went down the rat hole too. And I got the general timelines, all the different timelines, all different characters. So I understand that piece of it. But now when it comes to the actual objects that move back in time, that's when I'm lost, right? Because that confuses me a little bit, right? When you have, bullets coming back in time or you got the buildings blowing up and, that's when I get confused. But the people and the timelines of the different folks, I get that a little bit,
Yeah.
but man, it's like,
Well,
you're right. It's one of those.
yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
one thing, like, when they're talking about a temporal pincer, how, you've inverted your time, and if you invert your time again, there are things that you could actually, I don't wanna say destroy, but you close the loop, and therefore you erase what happened before. So, and I was like, "Wait, how did that happen?" And it's like, "Well, you remember when they went in the turnstile and they opened back up, and he was like, 'Hey, where'd they go?'" It's like, "Well, that's what happened." You know,
Yeah.
they're off on they're going in some other direction in time, and you're going this way, so you're just not gonna see them again. And it's like, "Huh,
Oh my
okay."
goodness.
So, yeah, they were trying to explain that, yeah, the girl got shot with the bullet that was going backwards in time, and she was going forwards in time. So what they had to do was like reinvert her, but that meant that
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Hold on, and
I know.
then
I know.
I laid down and put my hands across my chest and just thought.
Man, I mean, bravo to Chris Nolan. I mean, that is like a puzzle box on top of a Rubik's cube on sitting in, in the middle of a puzzle. It's just like, dude, the way you kind of put this together, man. Because you're right, it's like certain things like. I understood like. Obviously, when he was the very beginning of the movie, when the protagonist, that was the name of the character, was basically just working out by himself. I assumed that something else was going on in that boat, and when you find out later, they're actually on the boat going backwards in time. It all makes sense, right? To me. So I understood that part, right? There was a lot of this part in the beginning where he's kind of like trying to figure out things and things are happening. And I figured there's something going on at the end of the movie that these people are using that same kind of transport to go back in time. So I kind of understood that, but you're right. There's other stuff about the pincer movement, the temporal pincer, or what happens when you get shot by a bullet on one side and the other side. And then the whole fact about the main villain, man. I mean, he basically sent him stuff from self from the future. The future sent him some messages to help them mess up the past because they're angry. But then isn't will they even exist when they do that? So it's like the Godfather paradox they talked about, right? It's just like anyway. You're right, man. We're starting to get in that white
Yeah,
that zone where we're gonna go crazy.
yeah, that whole thing, and it's like theoretically it could be the end of the world, but they weren't sure. But so they're just like, well, let's
We're gonna screw it.
let's
So
not take that chance.
oh man. Oh, my brain is hurting already, man. Oh,
Yeah.
let's stop.
Oh, let's
Let's
carry
stop.
on.
Let's just move on. Let's just move
If
on.
you got any
But anyway,
if you got any
no, that's
theories,
pretty
mail them
much
to
it.
us. Mail them to us.
Yeah, please do, man. Tenet, I think it's gonna be one of the ones we're all gonna revisit 5 years from now and just really, scratch our head. So moving on, speaking of something that's gonna make you scratch your head again, crypto.
To the
Crypto's
moon,
future, man.
to the moon.
Oh my goodness. Crypto has been going crazy this week, man. So one of the big things that are happening this week, we'll talk about a few of them, but Elon on SNL. So Elon Musk, for those who don't know, will be on Saturday Night Live, comedy show, sketch show that's been on for 40 years. And obviously some people are mad about it, sure, but this is crazy. I've never seen this before. and Dogecoin is going through the roof. I mean, I think the last I checked it was like $66, 66 cents. I mean, now if those that don't know, Dogecoin is basically a joke coin. It was created as a joke to say, hey, let's see what happens if you just create a coin and see if people invest in it. I think the market cap is like something like $80 billion for a joke coin, and it's just going through the roof. People who bought it at 5 cents are now millionaires with this coin, and this
Yeah.
is crazy. So why did I conflate SNL Elon SNL with Dogecoin? Because people are thinking because he's been hyping it, and this is something that he's been kind of personally kind of talking about. Him being on SNL, they think he's going to say something about Dogecoin, and so that hype alone is driving this thing to the moon. So, man, so we're talking about the future of crypto. So
Yeah.
in this session, so is crypto? I mean, it seems like there's just a bunch of pump and dump scams, with crypto, man, because it's so, it's really nothing there to really value it like you normally do. It seems like hype is the big value proposition for a lot of these coins. So this is an example of that. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, well, if you want to get like financially theoretical about it, um, gold is nothing more than dirt. I mean, a type of ore we dig out of the dirt, um, and we apply value to it. So it's supposed to be a representation of traded value. An easy way to barter or a better way to barter. It's backed by something, but that something, even at its core, really isn't. It's just an agreement we have with each other that we're going to value this. If I go and find a bunch of gold in my backyard, it's like, all right, well, didn't mean anything, but I guess I'm rich now. Um,
Mm.
so, you know, now we have computers doing that kind of same thing. It's like, well, didn't have value before, but these computers say I have value, so hey, let's go. Um,
Well, I would argue this. Only thing with gold is, obviously, it typically was rare. It was a rare kind of mineral. It wasn't just something you could just dig out the ground like tomorrow. So there was a scarcity, right,
uh-huh,
value toward it. And then the other thing was there's a historical factor, right? This has been for millennial, right?
hmm.
Gold has always been valuable, so it's kind of like longer than we've all been alive, and even probably in the future. So I think I see your argument. Yeah, we take that same scarcity principle and apply it to Bitcoin in the same kind of hey, we're just tagging this as valuable. But I think gold has established itself so much longer, so it's just as an asset class, it's just more stable, if that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
absolutely. In terms of stability, definitely. Um, and you talk about applying value to something. One of the reasons why the current um, the current hype beast in the crypto world, Ethereum, the reason that's popping off is because people are attaching uh, you know um, their digital collectibles to Ethereum. So suddenly it's like you have these baseball cards or animated gifs basically. We talked about Beeple before, and the art community, there's arguments about how valuable is art. So we're seeing people attaching value to things digitally now, and yeah, it's the wild wild west. It's strange, it doesn't all make sense, but no one can deny that it's happening. So
Yeah, I mean, I blame video games.
oh yeah.
I guess this whole like, I'm gonna buy a virtual, kind of sword, and it's valuable now, and I can take it to different games. It's kind of being applied now to these cryptocurrencies. So this whole kind of play game. So I agree. Hypeness is part of it. So there's valuable there. So now let's talk. So you had talked about Ethereum, right? You're right. Ethereum, has this concept of contracts, and you can kind of create different forms of what makes this coin valuable, right? Different attributes to this coin. And so what came out of that was crypto kitties initially, which these little cute little characters that you could trade and make valuable. And then from there evolved this whole non-fungible token market we talked about a couple of months ago, and you eloquently explained on YouTube. So now we know a lot of folks like these influencers are really trying to get into this NFT market, and one of the biggest influencers out there, Gary V. Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the biggest guys out there on social media, has created his own NFT. So, what are your thoughts on that, man? I think it's called Gary V Friends. So, what are your thoughts on where this is going in this influencer marketplace?
Well, I think it's very smart. I mean, if you look at any historical, um, and I don't want to reduce the idea here, but if you look at any historical collectible, anything that somebody might collect, whether it be jewels, when everything dug up out of the ground, art, something that somebody slapped on a canvas, antiques, something that some famous person or royalty happened to own. These may not have inherent value to you, but there is something that you hold valuable. And the for Gary V's tribe, the people he's been putting all this stuff out to, um, all of his ideas, his different platforms, his different um, techniques and things that he's been putting out, he's trying to encapsulate all that value that he's put out there into these NFTs that he's creating. And I think it's kind of brilliant. The only other people who I think are anywhere close to putting out that kind of value is NBA Top Shot. Where they're like, "Hey, listen, we know you guys love these shots. They're actually doing a collaboration with LeBron James. Um,
Of
has
course.
it happened yet? I'm not even sure. It may have happened by the time you listen to this. But
Speaking of which, hey, real check in. The MT deck you bought, is it going up in value?
I went online and people were saying that they were having problems getting their money out with from the NF. They're having problems getting their money out of Top Shot because of the wallet and the Dapper um, interface that they're using to interface with these Top Shot wallets. It got kind of weird and people were having trouble getting their product out. So when I heard that, it just didn't feel like a good time to pull out because everybody's pulling out at the same time. I figured it'd be a little lower, so I was like, you know what, let me just let it chill for a bit, and then I'll get back into it.
Gotcha, gotcha. But you still have your NFTs though from Top Shop, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yes, keep us posted and see what. Shoot, you might be an NFT millionaire. You don't know.
Uh, you know, hey, check your local Target. If you still don't think this stuff is hype and it's still happening, check Twitch. Check your local Target, man. People are still buying, baseball cards and things at a crazy rate, and that market is parallel to the digital market. So people are just collecting things in general. So I don't know. Do you collect anything?
Nah, I used to collect a lot of comic books, but now I'm more of a digital guy now. I just read them. So I would like to get back into collecting again, but no, not now.
Collect fine wines. No.
I need to. But no, no, I don't, man. But I am thinking about it. I mean, I'm fascinated by this NFT and what Gary Vee is doing. So in the influencer market. I mean, I guess he's also trying to teach influencers how to create their own NFTs because my belief, and I listened to other podcasters who said this, that basically, I think what these influencers are thinking, like, what if Facebook or Instagram change their algorithm, right? Then we're going to lose millions of followers, or we won't be able to get our content like we want to.
Mhm.
With these NFTs, in essence, you can probably create your own. You can own your own audience, no matter what platform you go to, right? Because now they own your token. They're always attached to you. You know how many tokens you distributed, and not only that, but you also create your own kind of mini economy. So they're constantly trading NFTs with each other, right, to get
Mhm.
access to you. So access to Gary Vee with this his Gary Vee friends, right? For me, maybe only worth $10, but for you might be worth 50. So we just exchange money. And so I made money in his ecosystem. So I'm going to be more enticed to want to stay in it. And so now he can like, oh, I'm not on YouTube anymore, guys. I created my own YouTube channel or my own YouTube app or something like that. And they'd be like, okay, sure. I just use my NFT.
Yeah.
So I think this is brilliant. I think this is where it's going with these influencers. Like, we can't be relying on these platforms anymore. Because if Mark Zuckerberg gives up tomorrow, and I just lost a million, followers.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where this is going.
Yeah, and I also checked with I was checking in on the different cryptocurrencies and NFT platforms that people are coming up with. And for people who are concerned about security, you know, environmental damage, uh, ease of use, etc. There's somebody building a coin or a blockchain system out there to address that. And right now, as I said, it's the Wild West. And if you've never been to like a foreign country and like been to one of those currency exchanges and watched people trying to figure out how to get the most, money for something, well, I have my, I got my US dollars here. Can I switch that for lira? Well, you may want to wait till tomorrow. Should I wait until tomorrow? Well, the Italians are going to do something crazy, and
Yeah.
let's change this over into some marks before that. If you're going to travel down to Africa, you might want to switch it over for. It, I went to Europe once, and the currency game was crazy. Just seeing people with, seven different types of money in their
Mm.
physical wallets was just nuts. So, see,
So you think that's where we're going? Is that where we're going with this whole
yeah,
cryptocurrency?
when I downloaded and installed Coinbase and started getting in on that action, I was like, okay, Coinbase, this is it feels kind of like it's made in that similar vein where it's like, hey, um,
Mhm.
you want to switch
Yeah.
your Bitcoin over into Litecoin, or hey,
Yeah.
to the moon, baby, we can get you some Dogecoin if you want to try that. It's like, yeah,
Diamond hand, baby, to the moon. Buy the dip. I mean, it's his whole language.
yeah,
But yeah, same here. Back in 2017, I kind of got rid of all of it. But I had like all these different cryptos. I used Bittrex at the time because Coinbase didn't allow you to do a lot of that change exchange. But yeah, you get into Bitcoin. You can do go get all these different altcoins and do all that. But you're too right. It wasn't easy, right? You have to have understand, how you have your wallet set up or how to exchange it. And so even trying to get it all out back into finally a US capital, a fiat currency, took me about half a Saturday, man, just to figure all that out. I was like, man, I'm getting my stuff out of this.
uh,
So, 'cause and I'm a smart guy. And it
yeah.
took me like half a Saturday to figure all that out.
No, I was messing around, doing some transactions, and it was like, your wallet has returned um it was some kind of error code, and I was like, wait, what does this even mean? So I'm looking up, and they're like, hey, this may have happened, or their servers may be down, you have to call them. I'm like, call somebody
Yes.
on the
Oh,
decentralized market? You're not going to get in
exactly.
contact with anybody. But basically, so I didn't know what to do, and then I got a call from my bank that was like, "Hey, we saw this was going on, and you were attached to that, so we stopped some transaction." And I was like, "Oh." And when they stopped that transaction, it set off some chain event, where it's like, "Well, this guy's funds are no good because my bank thought something shady was going on," and
Oh
it
man.
just got weird for about a day. But
Yeah, it's not trivial, man. I mean, like I said, literally took me half a day because number one, I had to remember all my passwords, and then it had secret codes and passwords, and you got to get two-factor authentication, and then they had to, then you got to figure out like if your software is up to date on your wallet, and so that took another day. Not just the OS software on the little Ledger wallet I had, but also the software of the platform, that had to be updated, and so it was a lot, man. And so it doesn't make it easy. So I do commend Coinbase. I think they're going to try to make it as easy as possible to do that exchange process. And so that's why, full disclosure, I did invest in Coinbase, even though it's down now. But I think they have a plan to make this easier because the easier it is, then obviously the more people feel more comfortable with it. But I will say this and real quick, but what we're seeing too is that the government is starting to crack down on it. I don't know if you saw latest taxes. Yeah, they're starting to say, "Hey, did you buy or sell cryptocurrency last year?" I'm like, "Oh
mhm.
crap, no." So, no, of course not, Mister Sam, it's Uncle Sam. So, I think that, yeah, and then also you're hearing that Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, she's talking about Bitcoin is, oh man, this is being used, all these criminal ways. I'm like, dude, that was back in Silk Road days, but I mean, it still is in some ways, but
Mhm.
it's kind of like they're dredging up these old kind of issues against Bitcoin, right? And then the latest one has been about you kind of hinted at it, the environmental damage, right? Oh, all this proof of work, you're buying all this compute power, this electricity. It's enough to power Argentina, right? And so now we're gonna have an environmental crisis because everybody's gonna be mining for Bitcoin, right? And so they're putting all this fudge out there, right, to kind of keep people from doing it. But
Fudge.
I don't think people are listening. Yeah. Well, it really should be FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right,
Oh,
out
yeah.
there, right, to kind of to let folks know that this is not something that you want to invest in. But I'll be honest with you, man. Look at the numbers, man. African Americans, we talked about this. 25% of them have invested in Bitcoin versus 70% of white folks. I think Black Americans see this as a way to have financial freedom, and so it's gonna be interesting, man. It's like you got all these factors, man. There's innovation, you got regulation, and you got this social issue, right? That's kind of targeted, and so it's like, and you got this hype factor, right? Where you got these
Mhm.
celebrities, so it's kind of like this mixture of like, it doesn't bode well, man. To be honest with you, when you think of all this.
It's a lot of people out there, to be frank, I think are just gambling and they don't know what they're doing. So we'll see how it turns out, but to the moon.
Oh man.
We do not give Doge financial advice here.
Exactly.
Just
No
joking.
financial advice here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The IRS, don't come after us. Please don't. Please don't. We don't have enough funds yet. So yeah. So anyway, we'll keep up on crypto. We have some other things we'll talk about, but we'll reach out. Maybe we'll catch up on later. So real quick, Bad Batch, man, the latest episode of the new Clone Wars show. So we talked a little bit about the first episode, and then they released the second episode on Friday. So, what are your thoughts so far on Bad Batch? We talk about the first spoiler alert. We'll talk about everything about what happened in both the first and second episode. But any thoughts?
Filoni versus continuing to do his thing, man. I'm proud of this guy. I'm happy with what's happening. You don't need you don't need deep knowledge on anything Star Wars, but you're rewarded if you do know it. So, in fact, you don't even need to have checked out Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels to enjoy this. It it pretty much gives them a decent enough intro and then goes into it. So, and you said your kids were into it, right?
Yeah, they like it. And be honest with you, I liked it too. The second episode was a little bit slower than the first one, but the story was pretty good. I mean, second, if I when I watched the Clone Wars, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm a Star Wars guy, but I mean, it was pretty rough going, right? Some of those standalone episodes, and that was a standalone episode, but I mean, the storytelling was compelling. I mean, the characters are pretty good. I mean, it's a story we've seen time and time again. I think in this episode, brief recap. I guess the team had landed at a offshoot of a planet. Do you know that one character with the? I assume that one character. I can't remember his name now, but the one character they met with the family. Uh, I guess he showed he was a deserter. He was a previous clone. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
The
in the Clone Wars Rebels, they ran across numerous random clones. I can't keep up with them all. They're the same guy, so you lose
yeah.
track of 'em. Oh, this was that random clone from episode blah 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 who flew off, and okay, I guess so. No, but it's cool to see them not in the middle of the Clone Wars, and over time they've kind of just developed their own personalities. It's funny. The thing that's kind of hanging over everyone's head is if Order 66 went out and there were no Jedi around, these clones just kind of like, what are they thinking? They're just kind of doing their own business. But if a Jedi shows up, are they immediately going to mind switch and be like, that's a Jedi. I got to do something about that.
Good point. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So like I was mentioning this episode, they kind of land on this planet, and basically they have Echo. So I guess Hunter, the leader, he's debating if he wants to keep her around or not because they're soldiers and they need to switch to being different people now. And behind that motif, they're trying to figure out how to help this family get off the planet because the empire is coming, right? And they're starting to switch things up and really checking on people and where they go and what's going to happen, which I think is interesting. We'll talk about that in a second. And then finally, they kind of, I guess, Hunter decides at the end that Omega is part of them and they need to be, together. And so they'll work together to see she can be part of their family as they kind of go on to have more adventures. So
Yeah.
basic storyline, we've seen it before.
Are you crying? Are you
Just interesting.
you choking?
Yeah, it got emotional. Kinda actually did. It was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole father I mean, but someone, I think Grace, she had mentioned it, after the trailer and other, she mentioned, like, Star Wars has gotta get out of this same theme, right? This father, son theme or father-daughter theme. It's like over and over again between Mandalorian, Star Wars itself. It's just this like, "Hey, I'm a bad man, but guess what? I love the kids." And so it's kinda like, ugh.
You know what? I haven't gotten tired of that. I still kind of think it works, and you know what? I can prove it works to me because I usually can't stand when they throw in like a little character, quote unquote, for the kids. Back when we used to watch He-Man, and there was crappy fucking Orko, and
I liked Orko.
s- oh lord,
Is it
the,
Orko or Orca?
Orko,
Okra, okay.
not okra.
I liked him, man. Not Oprah.
No, yeah, they every all these cartoons and shows, they would have these characters that were just there for kids to relate to, and this is
Mhm.
obviously that character in Bad Batch. But I don't know, it worked out for me really well, and I was like, this little kid, I dig this kid, and the fact that her name is Omega, I suppose everybody caught that, but her name's Omega, and she's got the last clone or the last from this clone development.
But whose clone is she of, though? That's the question. Aha.
Uh,
Because it doesn't look nothing like the typical clones that came from, Boba Fett's daddy. It's like they look, Jango Fett. She looks like somebody else. Who do you think?
I say Skywalker, which is, hey man, what you tripping at?
I think it's Palpatine. I think, Palpatine. I think, that's where they're going with it. I mean, because I mean, this is she doesn't look anything like them at all, and
You
she's
know
supposed to be
what?
a clone, and no one is even saying anything. It's like, I mean, at least have some kind of look about it herself that look like them. They're just like, "Oh, yeah, she's a clone."
don't don't tell Bryant he needs to rewatch the last Sky.
Oh, no, yeah, no. Oh, no, don't say, "Oh, no, don't God, don't say it's that."
Rise
That's the one. That's the
Rise.
one?
Yeah, if it's attached to that storyline and leads into that somehow, Palpatine and
What a flex. If they did that, what a flex. Love it.
Rise of
I would love it if they did that.
Rise of
The worst
Skywalker.
Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker, the worst Star Wars movie. That would be such a flex. The Bad Batch to introduce the Palpatine clone. It's like, yeah, this is what we do.
By the way, that's actually a couple up from the bottom for me. But we'll get
Oh
into another
wow.
discussion on that one.
So anyway, it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes. But I'm digging the time period. I'll be honest with you, man. It's got um that dark malaise, of like, hey, this is the bad time period, right? The bad timeline where things are starting to get worse. They're starting to check people, give me IDs, and like right before, you read those stories, and this is not as bad, but it's just kind of like, what happens in the war when they shut things down, or, like during the Holocaust, things like that.
Mhm.
They start checking people where they're going and what's going on, and you feel this oppressive nature about it. And so I think I'm kind of digging that vibe. It's kind of like, it's not going to be a happy vibe. It's going to be kind of like, and I just see Rebels. Did Rebels have that same kind of vibe to it, or is it more kind of scrappy? We're making moves. We're trying to make it happen.
Rebels started off soft as hell, um,
Okay.
but it was just kind of like dude running around, and I'm not oppressed because I'm free. I'm going to steal an apple from this guy and gee.
Oh,
And then after a while, it was like, look, kid, I know you like being happy and all this, but this is real life. You know, stuff is serious, man. Jedi powers are serious, and you got some. It's like okay.
gotcha.
So that's not a spoiler, by the way. He's just it's explained from the get go. But yeah,
Gotcha.
it's good stuff, man. And but it doesn't start out as heavy as Bad Batch is starting out. So we'll see how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, Bad Batch is starting pretty heavy, and so yeah, I'm always kind of leery. How my when we watching my kids, it's like, I mean, how dark is this going to get, man? We're gonna see some straight, some Merc up in here, some clone warfare. So, but it's still kind of kiddie, and keeping it along those lines. But I am concerned how dark this is going to get, man. We're going to see, you know, the Emperor out there, murking, younglings out here. I'm like, dude, come on, man. This is
Mm.
let's keep it PG, man. So,
Yeah.
overall, what do you think? So, are we all in on it? We're going to keep watching.
Oh yeah. I mean, these are 20-minute episodes. We can just like, hey, it was good, bad, or it was kind of corny, and keep it moving.
I agree, man. Where's my buddy, man? He didn't show up in the second episode, man. I want to see more Crosshair, man. That dude, man. He needs his own storyline, dude. I want to see him just murk it. I mean, come on, man. The first episode when they had that, he got the best scene at the end when Hunter threw up the knife and he
Yeah.
shot the knife and it killed like two
Yeah. Yeah.
two robots, two droids. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, come on. That dude is badass. So I want to see all, but I do. Okay, we didn't go into spoilers on the first episode, but my concern about what they did. So basically, for those that don't know, there was a group of five of them. One of them, Crosshair, basically turned against them, right? And they said it because he had the chip in him, like most clones, to execute Order 66, but it was kind of low level for him. And so they kind of amped it up. And so that really made him go against his old buddies. And so I do feel like it's a cop out, in my opinion, because it'll explain a lot of bad behavior he does. And
Yeah.
so when they finally kind of turn it down, he's gonna be like, "I'm sorry, guys, it wasn't me."
Yeah. I could see that. Um, hopefully they, because in Clone Wars, they actually played around with the idea of how different clones reacted to Order 66 and what they were supposed to do. Some of them were just like, you know, uh, their thought process was like, "Hey, the Jedi have turned against us." Some people were like, "You know what? The Jedi is an evil religion," and they had like arguments on why they were going to take out the Jedi, and it was,
Hmm.
and some people who had left the Jedi Order, they were like, "Well, wait a minute, they left the Jedi Order. Should Does that count?" And you'd start seeing them have. So it's not like a pure line programming. It's varying degrees of suggestions, and it shows that the clones aren't perfect copies, or at least they have different experiences that allow them to come up with different conclusions for why they should uh, execute Order 66 in the way they did. So
Gotcha.
there's a lot of interesting ground that they can play with.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna try to keep it moral. It's gonna keep it gray, right? It's no good or bad. It's all gray right now. And and Star Wars. I mean, people we always forget this is Star Wars, so it's always got to be some kind of war. So
Yeah.
it'll never be just like, hey, this is Star Peace. We're just sitting around, smelling flowers, hanging out in the New Republic. Nah, it's always gonna be some war going on. So this is a long line of that. So again, TV shows for Star Wars, excellent, man. They're killing it. So I hope the movies get their act together, man, because we need them, man.
Give
We
Filoni a
need some.
trilogy. Be done with it.
Yeah, I think so. Filoni, I mean, he understands mythology like no one else. I mean, basically, George Lucas himself has pretty much blessed him as the heir apparent, right? To really tell these stories. I mean, he's literally kind of building the mythos of Star Wars outside of the Skywalker clan. I mean, basically, that's what he's
Mhm.
done, right? He's filled in all the areas outside of Skywalker, and so now we can go down these different paths. To your point, and it could make the story, richer, right? Even more fuller than and on par with the Marvel universe, right? So good for him, man. Dave Filoni, man, that dude wasn't he just an animator when he started? He was just like some kind of just a lackey little jar, man, just sitting around drawing characters all day.
You know what?
And now he's the
You know what?
architect of all the greatest stories.
Yeah, man. In games, I got to meet a lot of animators, and they are surprisingly deep in terms of characters and personality because they really need to understand. Well, why would he walk this way? Does he have a limp? How do you get the limp? And it's really interesting because they're really into that stuff. And if you think about how Disney makes its characters, how they were big on animation, it kind of makes sense to me that he did come from animation, that he's so involved in characters and mythology. But I wouldn't have said that if I hadn't worked with animators in the past. So props to him coming at it from this angle because it's working for me.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, hey, man, this is it. We'll wrap it up here. Anything coming up next week for you?
No, I plan to have a new theory on Tenet. And I may have another headache, but I'll I'll whip up some 3D models to explain myself.
Nah, and I want to go deeper into on Jupiter's Legacy, man. I don't know if you know Stephen the Knight, the guy who wrote Spartacus, man. I love that
Mm,
show. He's the showrunner for this show, so
okay.
I trust that dude, man. I trust that dude. So we'll see where this goes. I don't know anything about the story. I haven't read the comic book. I'm probably not going to read the comic book,
See,
but
8 episodes. I may have it completed by the next time we record.
yeah, let's maybe me too. I'm already on third episode, so I'll
Okay,
probably knock it out this
let's
weekend.
do it
So
then.
yeah, let's talk about that, man. And then if anything else comes up, maybe we'll talk about what happens. We're recording this on Saturday, so we'll see what happens to Dogecoin after Elon Musk
To the
appearance.
moon.
But to the moon, where them diamond hands. Oh man. Anyway, if nothing else, hey everyone, thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe and comment at Show versus Business on Twitter or Instagram. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great week, everyone. Take care, Ben.
Peace to the moon.
Thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show versus Business, to get exclusive behind the scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!